You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hi all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams, and I've had to endure quite a lot over many months. You will find out it's not a pity show, it's a warning show. People think certain events are random, and what you're going to find out today is no, it's not. It's coordinated, and it's all designed to drag people down and back into the pit from where these people came. They don't like people who shine beacons. They don't like people who tell the truth. They don't like people who wish to progress. They don't like people who help each other, who care, who show compassion. These people are devoid of that. Darkened souls, twisted and bitter. And they're falling away. And as they fall away, they'll get more reactionary. And this is what we're seeing. So the purpose of today's show is to highlight some of the things ongoing within and outside of our group that has plagued many of you, including myself and the admins, none more so than the admins. The admins largely work in the background of our group and do far more than most members realise. But this year has largely been spent putting out fires of varying degrees and various intentions that don't always reveal themselves immediately. Time always reveals, and has always revealed in our favour. Why? Because despite fake claims, this group has always told you the truth, given you the facts to support whenever and wherever possible, and some people and groups cannot handle that fact. So I thought it was best to create and provide a timeline to all this, because it is relevant, and I have had to rewrite this piece given events of the past 24 hours since the last show, that covers what has happened since I moved to work closely with Kim, and why it has all become such a big issue, with much division, much angst, much distraction, and a fair chunk of unseemly characters emerging from their lair, whose sole purpose is to continue with the old system that has completely failed. Following me moving out of my home in Florida, at great cost and expense to myself to work closely with Kim, but also to provide some safety for myself as certain attacks ramped up, and being in Florida also poses extra risks as well. I'd barely been in the new location a month before the fun and games started. Back in September last year was the start of the new ramp up of varying style attacks when the old ones failed, with the specific purpose in mind of those carrying them out. The first of which that unfolded was the deliberate, misinterpreted piece I did in a show last September, a scenario-based piece at the time when Trump was under severe threat of being impeached and subsequently removed from office. It highlighted, should Trump be removed one way or another by the Democrats and the clowns impeaching him. Now, the piece stated, if we the people had a choice, should that event occur, that personally I would like to see Kim to take over for 3 months and fix and address things. It was stated clearly this was a scenario-based peace should the old order remove Trump. And yet it went from one website that I didn't have control of onto Tank's website and into the dark web. And the rogue elements picked up on it. And subsequently presented it as a government takeover by the Man of World Holding Trust, and Mnuchin personally presented it to Trump. That took Kim and the team 3 days to clean up that mess, and also stop the possibility of me being deported or arrested for alleged crimes against the government. It was all serious stuff. The fact, or the very fact, that it went that far suggests, does it not, this group, and more importantly Kim, is far more prevalent than some people or groups have made out. And this was the first attempt by several groups in and outside of the alt media to split Kim and I up. It failed. How and why is it possible that an internet radio broadcast, who the host some say has no substance and is just a small group of no significance, can it manage to reach the desk of the White House because of one scenario-based op-ed piece? Now, some shows and hosts, as we all know, would be jumping through hoops and whooping had any of their shows reached the White House as some journalistic coup. Not this one. We are more about solutions than personality contests. And that episode brought home of how desperate people are to stop Kim and the Man of World Holding Trust. During September, and just after the scenario-based piece, there was another attempt to get me away from working with Kim. In came Madeline Niatane and the Soul Tribe Sanctuary Group. Having already seduced my former girlfriend away from me, she asked me to move away from Kim and come and stay with her. At the time, I thought it was a genuine offer, which I declined, but it became clear very quickly it was something else. She was brought into the mix in another attempt designed to not only discredit me, but another attempt to remove me away from Kim. I have the email proof to prove it, and once I declined, things went badly awry in the conversation via email, and it appeared she was now tasked with using a variety of methods to distract and disrupt things in public, but mainly in a private way by trying to influence several members within our group that somehow I am something resembling the return of the Antichrist. I will have more on her later, as you will see the dots connecting. Then in November, after an ongoing programme within the alt media to not let THI or the Man of World Holding Trust message get out by denying us either of us airwaves on other shows. We then received reports of several alt media platforms being paid or bribed by a certain US general with $5,000 to not put either Kim or me on their shows. This was in November. Now, all of our regular members have, at various intervals, took part in several attempts of getting our message out to the several of the so-called headline shows and got zero replies. And many of you have the evidence to support those claims. None of them would even respond to it. Do you not think that's rather curious, as to why they would not do that, given the volume of topics covered within our shows, even ignoring the Manor World Holding Trust narrative. You get all kinds of people coming out with all kinds of different claims, and insiders and the whistleblowers, and all get airtime. And then you get people like Jordan Sather who appear out of nowhere and suddenly have 100,000 followers. Where's his background? Of course, there's only one show whose background gets regularly asked. Nobody else asks anything, as we all know and we've all seen. So that was what's going on blocking alt media for any of them to put me or Kim on their shows. They were trying to shut out the narrative of the Manor World Holding Trust. And the gist of it is like what happened in the fallout of Cosmic Voice. They were determined to silence me. That episode, which involved none other than David Wilcock telling Drake to get rid of me. We have the full evidence of that, and it came straight from his other counterpart, Neil Keenan's email. That Wilcock was directly involved with the breakup of Cosmic Voice. The reason behind that will become clear later. And no, Drake, contrary to what you told people on a show this week, that I backstabbed you. Oh dear. One has to ask Drake, do you get the same script as David Rear, accusing me of doing what you did? I'll keep saying it. It's become a common theme where they accuse the others of doing what they have done. You'll find out more of this during this show. Drake not only stabbed me in the back, he stabbed all the admins in the back as well. People who have looked after his show and his page for numbers of years, and threw all of us out of the group with no warning. Fact, not fiction, Drake. And if you keep telling more lies, next time you won't just scratch your eye, you'll poke it out. Go and check his latest piece out. He nearly poked his eye out lying. Always tells. The point was, now I was now connected with Kim at this point, and that was a threat to the people Drake, Neil Keenan and Wilcock work for, and I was exposing the factions and the fake Blue Avian cult, and it was having an effect. That is one of the reasons why Kim contacted me in the first place. But in November, and the publication of an article of all places, Liberia, everything changed. In that article, which certain parts of the old order tried to alter it and failed, it stated the Manor World Holding Trust was working in conjunction with the Liberian government and was giving Liberia 5.8 billion in a no-loan payback as part of the Liberian funds contained within the trust that was being returned to that country for development and infrastructure, until the IMF and UN thugs stepped in to not only block it, but they also tried to steal the funds. This changed the whole landscape, as it proved that the Manor World Holding Trust did actually exist, despite alt media attempts to deny it. And it proved Kim is real, despite Anna von Reitz denying it originally, and then backtracked and admitted she is the trustee, and also proved the trust has funds for every country for development and infrastructure projects, which is part of the ongoing mission by the trust to improve the lives of everyone on this planet. I don't think she'll be improving many. as time goes forward. There won't be many left. Randy Morgans and I did a full broadcast back in December on several of the alt media outlets of who they are and who they're involved with, and how and why they are not revealing anywhere near the truth they all purport to offer, and how it has become one giant distraction, money and energy harvesting machine. The reason behind that was to move away from the old failed alt media and into a new platform of combining the groups and building a platform for solution-based narratives, not distractions. Solution-based for us all to move forward. But that raised many eyebrows and many concerns in certain corridors of power, perhaps at levels some people have yet to comprehend clearly enough. This is not groups playing my show's better than your show, or certain agencies trying to bring us back in line. This went way higher, and will show how far THI and Manor World Holding Trust travels. The rest of November and throughout December last year, Anna von Reitz continued her online mudslinging fest of doing anything and everything to discredit Kim. First she was not the trustee, then she is. Then she changed tack and started saying Kim got the job by deception and she stole all the funds. And this continued for weeks until another Langley 2 based agent was dragged back out to play and let's discredit Kim again in January. Whilst all the Anna von Reitz blitz was ongoing, another asset was brought into the light and was launched in late November, early December. This was an obscure group called Fraud Fighters with a fake domain website and was subsequently found out to be led by a fraudster known as David Rea, R-E-A. Rea, who initially requested to work with Kim, and then when that didn't work out, so he couldn't produce any evidence, Kim was cast aside in a volley of crude and foul language via email, and then subsequently he set about charming me, stating how clever and smart I am and how I shouldn't work with this, insert several descriptive cuss words with that Kim bitch. His words, nice chap, not. So this clearly became another attempt at splitting Kim and I. It failed. More on him and them later. In the middle of all that was still in December. Kim was being pressured by several people to drop me as well, including Tank's lawyer friend Paul Martin Yokoyama, who I overheard personally telling Kim to get rid of me and replace me with Tank as the spokesman. But Tank was already the spokesman for Kim and the team. I was part of the team. My role was and is not as the spokesperson. Besides, Kim is more than capable of speaking and thinking for herself. How much of whether Tank knew what Paul was doing and saying, I can never be too sure, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt that he was not aware of it. But issues arising from their group have not gone away either this year, which is sad. But Tank has to be very careful, because there's certain people who are buttering him up, as we would say in the UK. The Saint Germain clown and his partner, who crudely trashed Kim recently with a plethora of foul language and descriptive words of what Kim is. The Kaz woman offering him olive branches in her podcast and the Bubba team doing everything to isolate Tank as not part of THI and the Man of World Holding Trust. It's all over their website. Like I said, they're buttering him up and creating a leverage again, and they will ultimately all turn on him if he doesn't play their game. Their game is destroy the people and keep the old failed system going. So you thought, a lot went on in a few months at the back end of last year. Well, the year ended with another attempt of targeting me, this time over Christmas. Jennifer Marquis / Bell was the latest attempt to prise me away from Kim, promising all kinds of things for me to leave Kim and move to be in Australia with her. That failed, and we stumbled into the new year. With barely a few days or weeks into 2019, they selected another person to come in and play distraction games, and as it turned out, another attempt to try and lure me away from Kim. That person was Thomas Kramer of the Keenan team. Thomas presented himself as Neil Keenan's personal spiritual mentor. He came in offering solutions and presenting stuff of how our two teams with Neil can work together. But we know who Neil works or worked for, and there is no way on earth would our paths align with Neil Keenan. Thomas offered me a job with Neil Keenan as their inside intel correspondent for America, his words, not mine, which would mean I had to leave Kim again. You seen the pattern now? It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. So now, when it's still in January, not only did we have Jennifer Marquis Bell, Kingdom of Manor agent, and Thomas Kramer, Keenan team, we also had Anna Von Reitz, and a new one came in. So after Anna Von Reitz failed in her verbal volley to not only not make any sense, but lie about her real intentions of why she doesn't like Kim. Pure envy. Because she thought she was heading for the or a top role is why. Promised by the order. We've covered it several times in several shows, how they make them all promises. You can be king of this and queen of that. And it's all bollocks. They're just making fools out of them. The problem is the fools can't see it. And also in her role of being a part of several of the old order factions. She's not just in one that she partakes in. So having Von Reitz failed, in came Leo Wonter. Fresh out of jail, fresh out of alt media, from the alt media background. And Leo Wonter came in on the internet several years ago, claiming he's owed $27 trillion that was stolen off him by several groups, including the Bushes, and that he'd recovered 4.3 trillion, and when he gets all the 27 trillion back, he's going to give it all back to the American public. Yeah, right, Leo. Pull the other one's got balls on. Those funds, as subsequent shows have found out, were all stolen by Wonter, Reagan, Mitterrand, and somewhere lurking in the background, the Bush group, out of the USSR. The money belonged to the Russian people, Mr. Wanta. Leo Wanta, once the looting out of the USSR was completed, got cut out of the deal and was thrown under the bus, and for good measure thrown into jail as well. That's what they do with assets. String them along, and when it comes to the end, cut them out and cast them aside. Leo was a low-level puppet that got caught up in a higher-level player's game. So in January, he came out and did some shows for one purpose only: trash Kim. Accused her, like Leo's script partner Anna, of Kim stealing all the trust funds, including his money that he stole out of Russia. Yeah. Like I said, once that Liberia article hit, it changed the whole landscape. From denying it existed, it went to discrediting Kim, and then fake allegations of her stealing the funds, except neither of those plots worked. Think about it logically. The clowns won't. They have none. We have the CIA, we have the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the NSA. You know, this country's overrun with agency people. Lots of them doing duplicate jobs. Not their fault. It's part of the old system. But if Kim had stolen all these people's funds, do you not think they would have arrested her by now? After 7 years of being in the trust. Not just since the Manor World Holding Trust came onto the internet via our show. She's been doing it since 2012. Why hasn't nobody arrested her? The only people who have come after Kim and the team are the old order clowns, pissed because they lost their slush fund. That's it. Why would Trump accept the budget funds from the trust since March of last year if it was a rogue organisation? You know, basic logic tells you by now, if Kim was all what the clown agents claim were true, she would have disappeared faster than David Wilcock on an internet row. But she's still around. Early this year, myself, Randy and Alan started some shows covering various solution-based topics and also showing how failed the old system is. It marked essentially a move away from the old alt media and towards a new one designed to empower people. This is not something the old system ever wants to see. Their biggest fear is the people combining and looking after each other, protesting in a non-violent way. That to them is a serious breach and it needs stomping on. And so they have unleashed on us, not just me, but Alan and Randy as well, and several other members within our groups who they see as leaders. We're all leaders in this group. There's no head leader. That's what they don't like. In April, we launched the THI State and Country Groups, which again was about empowering the members to all be leaders and come up with their solutions and their ideas to solve the ills we have in all countries. The groups was launched with a few basic guidelines of how to operate and protect your groups, and straight from the off, those groups were hijacked by an internet marketing group of people operating under the banner of THI whilst creating their own private group known as Midgardians, which was made out to look like THI, but was actually a clever marketing scam designed to harvest the funds from the People's Club when the funds come out. There were several involved in it, not just Lacey Eckhart. We found at least 10 other people connected to that, all connected to 2 separate internet marketing groups, but all connected back to Lacey Eckhart, who worked previously for both of them. All were involved in guru-type internet marketing schemes, and some would use the term internet scams, not schemes. Essentially, Lacey and her team set about claiming control of every THI state or country group by placing themselves as head operator of the group and also the page. If someone starts a Facebook group and places control on it, everyone that comes after has no authority on the page. That's what they were doing, whilst encouraging all members to join her own private Midgardians group by making out it was all part of THI, except it wasn't. Like I said, a marketing-based group designed to collect funds from all state and country groups they managed to install themselves into. This is why we had to make several new groups, as we couldn't change the pages, as Lacey was the sole controller of over 15 groups, and it was rising until the admins managed to put the blocks on it. That event caused a lot of upset within the group, and it still rumbles on. Lacey was convincing for a while, but that was her former job as a marketing counsellor, to convince people to part with their money. It's what they do. As you all now know, Lacey's own Midgardian group found out the real truth for themselves, not from me, but Lacey launched yet another money marketing scheme within her group to build a pot farm for her and her husband Douglas. As I say, time always reveals. Over the last few months, several members have been removed from our group as they got exposed as infiltrators within the group that were connected to several alt media internet groups, but also MI5, MI6, and current and former CIA agents. Not to mention the several people with fake titles like Saint Germain, Mary Magdalene, yes you Megan, Jesus' brother Matt, Eminem of Tolek, and someone from the Enki family line. Where do these people come from? All came to create division and seed doubts within the group. And then the man with several angel names and his disciples, who act important but will not do important, decided to get in on the act. Jesper Acker Peter Ellerman, of the former sovereign group known as the Kingdom of Manna. So the Lacey thing died down, and up to pop another attack on our group from within, who spent her time since March trying to destroy the work of the members. The members had decided to do an e-book for THI. The e-book itself, for clarity, is not something I took part in. I didn't decide the content or anything. It was something that a group of people wanted to do together, and I stayed in the background. I didn't want it to be about me. I wanted it to be about them. And the idea was a collaborative effort of around 10 to 12 members. And like I said, they decided all the content of all the book, which is absolutely fantastic. People should go and read it. If you haven't read it yet, it's well worth reading. It really is an extraordinary piece of work. And you can find that in the files section of Facebook and the MeWe pages. But during this book's collaboration, which is designed to create less work for me, which turned out not to be the case. That's the way it goes, because certain people's intentions are just not good. So during this book's collaboration, several heated exchanges broke out between the 10 or so participants, of which Jennifer, it appeared, was central to. At this point I was asked for the first time to interject, as by now 6 of the 10 people involved in the book had left in disagreement or disgust at what was unfolding. Deliberate delays of launching the book, suggestions of monetising it, which goes against our principles, and also some members' chapters edited or rewritten in some cases in favour of the Australian tribe connected to Jennifer and the Kingdom of Mana. Jennifer, at this time juncture, then presented herself to certain members as the Queen, not sure of which or where, and also the head representative of the Australian tribal group, and it became quite clear this was a deliberate attempt to divide the group, and she, Jennifer Marquis Bell, did this all on the behalf of a convicted rapist named Jesper Acker Peter Ellerman, who is the head of the now defunct non-sovereign group known as the Kingdom of Mana, of which Jennifer was a former participant of. It became clear as time went on she had not left Jesper and his disciples at all, and was embedded in our group to cause division. She was supported by Mr. Roscott, who was eventually removed from the group. Mr. Ellerman directly works, for those who don't know or may be new to this show, works directly for the Rothschilds and the Black Dragon Group. Why I emphasise that will become clear as the show goes on. And he was employed by the Rothschilds to not only keep Kim under wraps, but stall the process of the funds and ultimately take over the trust and give the trust all the funds and the assets that the clan stole back to them. That's who Mr. Ellerman is. Once they get the trust funds back, then they would launch Destroy Humanity program again. This is what we're trying to stop. It's not about money. And if people don't understand that by now, you really need to get up to speed. Jesper is currently tasked by the Rothschilds to deliver the RV, which he feels will make him important. No, impotent, I think is what Rothschilds meant. Or just stupid. Because when he fails to deliver, and he will, because it's something that is impossible to do, Jesper will pay the price of failure that all the others who have gone before him and failed. But don't say we didn't warn you, Jesper, or your disciples. Jennifer was not alone in this exercise. Other characters out of the tribe also played a role and proceed to lie through the teeth to the genuine tribal people. Zuzander, real name Stuart Alexander, Jan Roskett, who's installed in Team Bubba. Connecting the dots here? And Hayden Ellis, which they then roped in another to play their game, Kaz, the Australian woman who did a recent podcast denigrating me, THI and Kim in an all too familiar pattern. Some dot connecting for you to show how they're all linked. There will be more. Jennifer Marquis Bell and also Marilee Niatane, mentioned earlier, now of THI Bubba, both took part in writing that script which Kaz poorly delivered. That even some in the Bubba group criticised her for. I'm not sure Kaz realises what she's got herself involved in. I will give her the benefit of the doubt at this point. She doesn't appear to be the brightest bulb in the pack. But she needs to watch her back. It may have been presented to her that I am the issue, or Kim is this, that and the other, but time will reveal she has knives in her back, none of which are connected to me. So now that the Manor World Holding Trust was out of the bag and could no longer be hidden or denied, the clowns launched two of their alt-media puppets out to attack and discredit Kim, Anna von Reitz and Leo Wanta, claiming she's a fraud and how she stole a trust and robbed all the former trustees. Which a few months earlier they were stating the trust doesn't exist and Kim is a nobody making false claims. This is how these people work. First deny, then when that doesn't work, discredit people. All very agency-related tactics, that. But we'll have more about them later. So now we get to the THI Bubba Group, led by a convicted fraudster named David Rea, who has done several indiscretions a simple internet search will reveal, including 4 separate rip-off reports citing fraud. Now, rip-off reports can be written by anyone, and one of the clowns actually did one on Kim. Yet, unlike David Rea's reports, Kim's produced no evidence of said fraud at all, only words that Kim is this and that, but no evidence. You see, it matters not for those working for the failed old system. They just label you and run, and usually accuse someone of doing something that they themselves have done. Hello, Drake, which is the case with David Rea. It's like the Democrats accusing Trump of being a pedo, when many of the top Democrats have been involved in that very practice. It's a common agency tactic, accuse others of what they have done. It's like Marilee Niatane accusing THI of being a cult, and yet several of her former members all left her group accusing her of being a cult operator. Their words, not mine. And yet the irony of it all is Madeley was a former cult counsellor. You'd think she'd recognise her own cult. But you see, these people point away. They don't reflect back. So it's a case of practicing, not practicing, as the case may be, what she preaches. A common failing of Madeley accuses THI of being involved with scamming money from members, yet her own former members, in their words, all stated she was demanding money from them, including one member she demanded $6,000 off, and then when he wouldn't pay, threw him out of the group. Even David Rea accused Madeley of being all about the money and a scammer, and yet she still stays in that group. What was it he said? You're exactly the same as Techo, which is the bizarre name for me. That's why I have certain members to contact, as I'm not that technologically minded. I can get around, but the whole group is about hating on me. And David Rea said to Madeley, "You're no different than Thomas," and she's still in the group. Why? Because she has a purpose. That's why. Madeley is now telling people she's losing her home again. The same stunt she pulled in early summer last year, which I sent her funds for. Currently she's promoting a GoFundMe stating she is dying and writing a book called Ancestral Coalescence, which is a direct copy of the work by Markoff and R.C. Griffiths in 1984. Like a female David Wilcock, buy my book that I copied the material from others. Maybe members should look up an old show Madeley did. This is not Madeley's first dark rodeo, where she admitted she was part of creating the dark fractal virus in this universe on a show with Laura Leon. Another partner in crime with Madeley was bad enough, but people that dark never know when to stop. Madeley sunk to new lows yesterday, taunting Kim over her young brother's early and tragic death at the age of 28, and stating Kim is making money or running a foundation off the back of a dead brother. And somehow the Donovan Foundation, set up in memory of her dead brother, is connected to the People's Club Foundation, which was set up 10 years after her brother's death and 6 years after Kim closed down the Donovan Foundation, which was about cystic fibrosis. She and her dark cult followers are beyond sick. What is worse is many within that group of 47 celebrated her post. Not one dissenter. That makes them all complicit. All presented and posted on and around the anniversary of Kim's brother's tragic death. Given the levels of evil, I at this point don't think that was a coincidence. Designed for maximum hurt on a person, none of them combined are fit to lace her shoes. The dark satanic witch just got a whole heap darker. I'm struggling for descriptive words to describe that level of evil. Who in their right mind would taunt a person they haven't met, spoken to, or even texted, would taunt on the internet a person who lost her dear brother on and around the anniversary of his death? Making a conspiracy out of a tragic death of some young guy stoops to levels beyond despicable. And the fact that they all backslapped her for her investigative skills shows the levels of those so-called people will stoop to. I'm going to read the names out before we go into a music break. Madeline Thomas, Madeline Niatane, Lynn Sprouse, Katie Dane, Barry Bigham, Mac James, Puddin Tane, Douglas and Lacey Eckhart, Karen Spears, Tammy Kimbrell, Lucette Noel, Simone Wright, Tanya Rich, Jan Rescott, Kingdom of Manad, Tom Sims, Richard Hobbs, Marmite Man, Ari Stone, Whisker White, Sally Meisner, Adam, Kathy Scott Holton, Jocelyn Casey Abeta, Mary Bell, Jess Hall, Mary L.M., which I think is Mary Louise Mackenzie, Jay Thingard, Gavin Garnish, Alison L. Andrews, Deborah Martindale, Victoria Plaistow, Leah Barrett Odom, Piccalilli, what a name, Andrea Reed, Dawn Johnson, Dermot O'Hanlon, Reuben DeCloit, Deborah Heap Cale, Larry Lodge, LL, wasn't there an LL in CV? David Rare, and around 7 to 8 who appear to be able to screen block their existence. Plus Karen Carpenter lurks in the background, as I have been informed by 2 Bubba members and others close to her. Karen left our group on Thursday. Coincidence? You decide. Alfred Weber is also involved in it in the background, and you can add Karen MacDonald, Laura Leon in it as well, partners of Madeline Niatane. All of them are complicit in pure evil, celebrating and backslapping and using a tragic death on the anniversary to create some sort of conspiracy to trash people on the internet. Lady Evil song says it all. Hi all and welcome back. Have you ever heard anything as sickening as that? There's another name behind all that as well. Megan. We'll have more on her later. She worked close with Kim and was part of the UPU show until she went real dark. You can see it in her eyes. Go and check the video. And has decided to hide in the background and reveal details of Kim's private life, which has put Kim under a lot of safety issues. Meghan wanted to chase personality and money, hence she calls herself Mary Magdalene and chases the RV. Can you imagine the real Mary Magdalene running around the world chasing the RV? It's all ego, and that's why she didn't stay in our group or part of the UPU. Her ego went dark. The question remains is, does David Rea have some sort of hold on Madeleine Leotain? Why would Madeleine stay in a group after they accused her of being self-serving, all about the money, and a scammer? Oh my. Unlike any other group in the alt media, I reveal and show proof of all the funds that go to the People's Club in and out, including bank statements. My Patreon was available to view to the all until the same people again, Madeleine and the Bubba Group, decided to interfere with it. My Patreon donations are all voluntary. That's what they're calling me a scam for, because I have a Patreon. Funny they don't call the various of other shows who have Patreon, including Madeleine Leotain. But funny enough, it's only my Patreon that's scamming people. And yet I've never demanded money off anyone, something that many members within the group will attest to, as I refused several, in some cases large donations they wanted to send direct to me before I did the Patreon. My answer was, send it to the People's Club instead. Something they can't say. And unlike several other outlets, I barely advertise my Patreon either. And neither do I set up fake pity party lives for a GoFundMe. And yet when I asked Anna von Reitz to do the same, crickets. Wilcock and Good donations. Again, crickets. Will Madeleine show her donations publicly like I have? Will David Rea show where his funds come from? Or is he just paying back his prison time? Not a chance. I will reveal where his funds come from later. Who is also the Bubba and his group of members who reported the People's Club for advertising, all of which is not standard in each state. So keeping up with it is kind of confusing even to the financial agents, never mind me. But they reported us after I moved state, and the People's Club was given a $250 fine, which unfortunately came out of the members' donations. Nice people they are. Not. And to use a Kaz word, despicable fits that group nicely, whose sole purpose is to stop people making progress. So let's look closely at David Rea, shall we, of what he is and has been involved in. He set up a fake website originally called The Whistleblower, under the banner of a fraud fighter group. Like I said, the fraudster sets up as a fraud fighter. Exactly the same name and the email on the THI Bubba page. What follows next, are all the words of those who have suffered at the hands of David Rea. He would get names from somewhere, likely from agency people or mercenary groups, to attack certain people around the world with fake allegations. And when the person he was tasked to target contacted him and asked him to refute the claims and delete that person off his site, this happened. Quote, David Rea blacklisted my name and my corporation. I made contact with him and he demanded a payment of $100,000 to remove my name off his blog. Sound familiar? That was in 2018. And this is what he was trying to do with Kim and then me also, hence the plethora of emails which I still have, him demanding all kinds from Kim or else. And then he started on me. In 2015, he was accused of slandering companies, names and organisations for personal gain. In other words, using blackmail. David Rea and his team, Anthony Heavenrich, to name another, own and operate a website named whistleblowers.org. Just type in David Rea, R-E-A, scam, and you'll see many statements about his behavioural ways, aggressive personality and lies, that he continues to con and claim money from unsuspecting potential investors. David Rea, it went on, David Rea alone is the reason the international commodities industry is in disarray and not trusted, as his lack of knowledge and scamming ways affect those real clients and investors wishing to enter into the market. So David Rea was involved in marketing. Who else was involved in marketing earlier in the show? Oops. Anyone who's had experience with David Rea will know that David is a very abusive man if he does not get his way, as Madeline found out. David will explain to you he knows everything about instruments, trading, commodities, gold, yet his ideas on scamming the system are nothing short of cashing in on others' hopes and dreams, on the unknowing. The piece went on. Like I said, these are not my words, these are his victims. I have had personal experiences with David and his partner in crime, Anthony, claiming to be the owner of instruments and funds, when in fact everything he presented was fraudulent, bogus, fake, leased, and not owned in any way. David has asked for money from investors many times to enter into programs or commodity opportunities that have not been successful. No, they were just successful to him. When it comes time to pay out opportunities, he will in fact make excuses, blaming everyone else why the opportunity has not worked, or that the funds are locked up in a court hearing, locked up in a trade opportunity that is being investigated, where in fact there was never an opportunity in the first place. David presented in the past fraudulent gold certificates, fake instruments, fake sovereign accounts, fake funds, fake contacts and links to the top 50 banks, fake JV and contract agreements. David will discredit any other fully credited companies for his own financial gain. You're seeing the picture now. The fact that he roped 46 other clowns into it shows you the levels of stupidity. Well, perhaps they're part of it. Perhaps they're all trying to claim some of the funds. Who knows? Either way, they're all sick. David will make any claims of his experience and who he knows within the industry. And yet, if he's so well known, why does he still not run a successful business? And why, listen to this closely, like I said, these are not my words. Why does he have so much time on his hands to discredit others with no actual evidence? Other than posting some passport photos, documents, agreements and childish claims that are not backed or supported by any legal authority in any country. That was said by a person in 2015. In 2014, under the banner of Damar Real Estate, DAMAR, and Whistleblowers Org, David Rea and Sanjay Kalpoe were labelled scam artists after they scammed $10 million in a fake private placement program. $10 million. By another investor after Rea made claims that they were working directly with the Deutsche Bank. Yeah, Deutsche being the operative word, Mr. Rea. Douchebag, actually. My lawyers have been in contact with Deutsche Bank, and they have confirmed us that David Rea and Sanjay Kalpoe, and they are not working with them. And actually they are included in the blacklist of Deutsche Bank for scamming. In 2013, Rea and Kalpoe were cited again for further fraudulent claims and scams, and the claim on this one also added in how Rea sets up fake websites with this comment. His page is housed on a pirate service company whose owner has served prison sentences. My own investigation into this revealed the owner of his fraud fighters page was a bent Indian cop who was sent to prison out of Delhi. You see what Team Bubba are? Extortionists, blackmailers and discreditors. He's been doing this for the last 6 years at least, and roping people in. And all those people I mentioned before are partaking in it. Every one of you, including the recent 3 that left THI, Carpenter, Kale and Hobbs. Hope you're proud of yourselves. Only existence is to try and distort and extort and blackmail people for financial gain. Nice group. I can cite several other proofs of claims against him. They're just a portion of several of his fake companies and websites extorting money out of people like it mentioned earlier. $10 million he extorted out of people and demanded $100,000 to remove his fake claims off a website. And yet this guy remains out of prison despite several investigations. The reason being is he was dragged into a program to work for the clowns and agency people to work off his lengthy prison term. That's how Keenan and Drake got involved. Go and search Neil Francis Keenan. You'll find he got 5 years jail and yet was whisked to Bulgaria, CIA Eastern Division, despite not having a passport. The agencies, the Super Soldier program is another example. MK Ultra is another. They go into prisons, find out what people have done, and then they use them in programs, likes of RIA, fraud, to get other people, to get them to accuse other people of fraud that they don't like. Or someone's been involved in drugs, to then go and run rogue CIA. It's not all people in CIA are all bad. Rogue CIA to run drug operations, aka Afghanistan. But these people may think they're getting away with it, but they're actually putting themselves in a worse position, because once they're in it, you can't get out. And it never ends well, as Keenan found out. David Rea is being helped by agencies in the UK and Dragons, and is directly involved with his paymaster Eric Prince of Blackwater fame. So all involved with THI Bubba Group can now go and investigate who is running your group and who you are all working for. By all means, stay in that group. But from this day forward, having had the evidence presented to you, should you choose to stay within that group, one day you may all be cited as an accessory for extortion, blackmail, character assassination, and a scamming lawsuit along with him. Like I said, still think you made the right decision to join that group, Deborah and Richard? Oops. To tie this group up, it involves several people who caused issues mentioned earlier. Lacey and Douglas Eckhard, internet marketing scammers. Madeleine Niatain, accused by her own members of running a cult, scamming money off them, openly involved in witchcraft. Described as controlling, manipulative, abusive and bullying. Again, not by me, but her own followers. And also she's involved with Gaia TV, which, as our members will know, is ran by a Coven member, due to her links with Jay Widener, as she stated this week. Also in that Bubba group are links to Blue and Black Dragon groups and Langley. We have the evidence. Madeline Thomas was another one actually celebrating Mallory's post. Who denied the people of Italy access to their own THI country group. Thinking she's getting at me. No. In the same group, You have Troy Meggle, a descendant of Enki, he stated, who demanded 100 trillion out of the trust for his Anunnaki bloodline family. Music industry man in that group is also under investigation that will reveal much, but not at this time of writing. A UK film industry woman, also with connections, will be revealed also, plus links to the Keenan team, Matt and Megan, Cosmic Voice, and a London-based woman linked with elite families. Much has been revealed, but much more is held back should they continue to prop up an international fraudster called David Rea. Your choice. During this year there were several other people that many didn't get to hear about who have targeted our group, not just the K-Team, Kingdom of Mana, Cosmic Voice, Soul Tribe Sanctuary, but Matt and Megan of the Tolak Show. Alfred Lamont Webber is also involved in it. Karen Clanmother MacDonald, who told both Kim and I in separate calls around 4 years ago she was married to Ray C. Dam. Then, in the past week, she states she's never met the man, after I exposed him and her in From Russia with Love 6. Dawn Ham Hart, Tamara Davis and Morris out of the Danny McKenney-led Unfuckers group. Pedrag San Germain and his partner Denise Yapanis. Kat Balu, who this week on the Spreaker chat was making up lies that Kim doesn't care about the people. It's quite an extensive list. And not bad for a tiny, irrelevant, small Facebook group, is it? So much attention on 2 people out of 7 billion, all making various accusations, all of which were false and provided no proof or a shred of evidence to back any of their claims. But these were not some random attacks. Oh no, as heard above, and also after this sentence, all of it was coordinated. Not one of those people is random. Not one. As we mentioned, Marilee Niatane and links with Gaia TV, Jay Widener, this will now tie in nicely with 2 people who kind of drove Gaia TV into the alt media heavily. David Wilcock and Corey Good. Having already stated Wilcock's role in breaking up Cosmic Voice, because I exposed him and Good of creating a completely false story for public consumption designed to make money off unsuspecting people with the Blue Avians narrative. That was back in June of 2014. Over time, I was proven right. Many didn't believe me at the time, and that's fine. Like I said, I'll sit back and wait. Time always tells. The Blue Avians theme, all of which was entirely made up by Corey Good and his $6,000 GoFundMe teeth wife, morphed into the Blue Chicken Cult, which roped in several other alt media personalities like Sather, Robert David Steele, Gilliland, the Ancient Aliens crew and many others, causing much division in the ranks of the alt media community. Good and Wilcock were thrown out of Gaia TV by all accounts because they got exposed too much. And as what always happens when the main group gets exposed for criminality, it is the puppets who get thrown under the bus, just like Keenan, just like Drake, just like Leo Wanta. Good and Wilcock were the puppets for the coven leader Jerzy that ran Gaia TV for nefarious purposes that went way beyond presenting fake ET disclosure. Mr. Good has cropped up again. After Gaia TV is now being pushed or backed by the Edge of Wonder YouTube channel, which is backed by Epoch Times, which is owned by the banned Chinese religious spiritual organization known as the Falun Gong, whose leader left China and now lives in New York. Yet again, that one region in America crops up in relation to criminal or nefarious enterprises. The Falun Gong leader then founded the new Tang dynasty. Several months ago, I was going to do a report on the Falun Gong group that were involved with the Jewish Zionist element in organ harvesting and trafficking children. Information that was supported by global intelligence and various other sources, but I never got round to it. The person who was cited in that and now linked to Corey Good, backers of the Falun Gong PSYOP, is a neocon Zionist by the name of Elliot Abrams. So they have set up the new Tang dynasty. So who or what is it referring to? Tang is a reference to the Kuomintang mercenary group who are part of the Black Dragons group, and also Eric Prince of Blackwater infamy. Prince is also the driver behind the Team Bubba group and David Raya. Connecting the dots? The Kuomintang group was formed to serve the Black Dragon needs. Tangs in USA are based in San Francisco also. They run the opium trade in cooperation with the Bush Foundation, which is their main source of income. Our members and also Keenan's members will have heard reference to the Black Book, which contains banking codes. It's called the Black Book because it's the Black Dragon Book of Codes. This is the colour coding program that I've stated in previous shows. Dr. Green, the Green program. Hello, Lord of Leon. But whatever Keenan is showing at the Black Book, is it not? It is not the real one. Another one duped in with false promises and now fake titles, Amanar. And the people, Neil in particular and others, Sawano and Sakano, that Keenan mentions both, are both Black Dragon members also. Connecting some more dots now. It appears now that Corey Good got dropped by Gaia TV Coven and was picked up and pushed by the Black Dragons and the Kuomintang now. In a show and chat comment recently, I cited Anna von Reitz will be out shortly to write another piece criticising Kim. On Tuesday, like clockwork, she delivered right on schedule. So why and how did I know? Because her paymaster buddies failed in another attempt to hack into the quantum system, and the poor nobility titled woman and her fellow former trustees all got no money again. Anna von Reitz is linked with the same group as Neil Keenan, the Black Dragons, the Jesuit group as a former Vatican secretary under the Nazi Pope Ratzinger, and she also has a subscription to AAIA, which is a Nazi-led group. And subsequently, like David Wilcock, Corey Goode, Neil Keenan, Fulford, Robert David Steele, Jordan Sather, Winston Strout, Leo Wanta, and others all link back to the group known as Langley 2. All of them. Hi all and welcome back. This will be a summing up. The alt media, which I've been hinting about all along, is corrupted far more than people realise, and has become a total cesspool of filth, running distortion, distraction and deflection programmes, all designed to throw people off track, riddled with agents, faction-based groups, religiosity-based groups, witches and covens, all designed to target people from finding out the real truth, dragging people back into their sick and twisted, depraved world. They'll focus on target me and Kim and others, but in their world it's okay to ignore 49,000 children die each day. It's okay for children to be sacrificed, harvested, organ harvested, sexually and ritually abused, and children harvested on adrenochrome. No, because they just want to target 2 people. It's okay for 1.3 billion people around the world to have no electricity, 2 billion to be in famine-based conditions, over 3 billion living way below the poverty line. And it's okay for church people to sexually and physically abuse children. All that doesn't matter in their world, you see, because they don't care. Not one iota. And therein lies the problems we face on this planet. Who needs cabal when you have depraved people who don't have a single shred of caring in their whole bodies, like the 47 mentioned above? Groups like Team Bubba are the beacon and epitome of these people. Billions suffering, and their whole lives, day in and day out, they spend trashing 2 people out of 7 billion. It's their only focus. Trashing 2 people, none of those people have even met. Oh no, too cowardly to do that. Hide behind fake names, and even when they were offered a platform by this show to come on and air their allegations, predictably, as cowards do, they declined. Why? Because it's all fake, for one, and they're too content to play internet warriors with as much backbone as a jellyfish. So, despite we've been told, Kim doesn't have a trust. She's not the trustee. Manor World Holding Trust is bogus. So, what is she under attack for? Has she asked any member for money? No. Has she asked any listener or follower to do anything for her? No. Has she funded the American government and others who are bankrupt due to the very people these alt-media clowns work for? Yes. Keeping 25 million American people in a job since March of last year. And yet we have people denigrating her, trashing her, calling her a fraud, a con woman, a slut. Yes, that was Team Bubba again. And making out she's making money off the tragic death of her brother. The truth of the matter is that Kim put hundreds of thousands of dollars of her own money into supporting the victims of cystic fibrosis following the death of her brother. Those funds were not for her brother, but for the many other families who had the misfortune of having to deal with that disease for 4 to 5 years after his death. Kim supported many families. And the Donovan Fund, of which only she put the money in, was closed in 2011, 1 year before she took up the role of trustee. Those are the facts. But facts matters not to these people. Why chase down facts when that doesn't fit into their sick and twisted agenda? When you can literally spend hours all day making stuff up. Clearly none of these people actually work, making up false allegations all day, 7 days a week. So Kim, after 6 years of working on behalf of humanity for no pay, when she was in a job earning hundreds of thousands of dollars per year off her own back, something it seems those in Team Bubba are reluctant to do. A total bunch of degenerates harvesting off the state, pretending to have fake illnesses to not work. And this is what she gets. As for their attacks on me, is it not ironic? I've been called the tiny man of no relevance, with a tiny Facebook group of no importance. Our shows are all bullshit. A following and a Patreon that's diminishing according to them. And yet, someone who is a nothing attracts all this attention. That's fine by me. You can call me whatever you like. But what does that say about all the individuals named above? That this tiny man who is allegedly so irrelevant that people have to remove him from groups for talking too much. Make several attempts to stop me working with Kim. Report a foundation charity designed for helping people for a minor misdemeanor that cost the foundation a $250 fine of the members' donations. A group that set up a whole Facebook in mine and Kim's honour and make the most bizarre and childlike allegations with no substance or proof, devoting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on one tiny man who is irrelevant, according to them. Methinks they doth protest too much. Or perhaps, as the case is, I'm doing important work that bothers the paymasters they all work for, directly in some cases and indirectly in others. All these people are working to keep the old harvesting system, with all its sick, twisted and depraved behaviours. These people can't and won't be saved. I will do as I have always done in these situations. After presenting the real evidence, I'm going to sit back and watch them all implode. Like all the others who tried before them, including 5 or 6 in that current group, all got exposed as to their real intentions and all failed to bring me down. These type of situations I've faced many times in my life. I've had many trying to bring me down. They all failed. Why? Because I don't allow them. I get up and come back even stronger, which pisses them off even more. These people just want everyone down in the pit with them. The Rayers, the Madleys, Madeline Thomas, Carpenter, Deborah Heap Cale, Richard Hobbs. Low-life people preparing to drag people down that have the audacity to want to help and care about other people. Participating in extortion and fraud against innocent people. And going to the lowest of the low of accusing somebody of making money on the back of the death of a brother. Not one of them in that group said that's going too far. No, they were celebrating it, backslapping madly. Despicable. I apologise to our members that this has become a long-running issue, but these psychopaths need to be addressed, and I hope with this show and the dots connected will bring you a deeper understanding, and also the depths people will go to bring down anyone challenging the old system. This runs far higher than a few alcoholics and work-shy jerk-offs in the Team Bubba. This goes to the top of the lower minions club working for the order, who actually don't give a single shit about them either. But that will be lost on those people, as no matter how hard you try, you cannot teach stupid. But these people are beyond stupid. They are darkened souls, twisted by their own evil, that only they can fix. And no matter how many times they use me as their projection screen, call or denigrate me, that will not ease or fix their own elements of evil contained within. It just won't. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Some of these know exactly what they're doing. Forgiveness is what I've always done. As my olive branch to Marilee was shown. And yes, they will make it out as a ploy. But many others in our group, and outside of it, know better. Forgiveness keeps me ahead of all that have tried to drag me down in this lifetime. Not just the current band of darkened souls. Many have tried, and all have failed. This group knows exactly what they do. Some have done it previously. Yes, you know who you are and who I'm referring to. All those people mentioned in today's show can carry on doing what they do, living in their bitter and twisted world of destroying life and people. Today's show was not really about them. It was for the creators in our group who may struggle to understand how wave after wave of attacks keep coming, and also how to watch out for people with their only intent is to seek and destroy people who have attempted to do their inner work and anything good taking place on this planet. Alt media is like an ocean on a moonless night. The sea thrashing about, crashing into each other, creating erosion. We are the lighthouse on the shore, our light blazing away. Let us keep it that way. They can only harm us if we allow it. They have no purpose except destroy. We are here to create. All of you shine your light brighter. They are like cockroaches. They can't handle the light. Light to them is a reminder of how and where they failed. They know their time is up this time. And this is why they are reacting against anyone who shines their light. Not just me or Kim. Anyone. Our light is a symbol of their failure. Several shows of mine I have warned of a split. I first referenced back in 2015 of the two worlds and how it would get wider, nastier and uglier from an observer's point of view. Despite the depth of the names in the show and some references to it in the shows, what you hear in the shows is a fraction of what I and my admins have to deal with. We largely keep it under wraps. So I'm asking all members, please show respect for your admins. These are people who give their free time just to help you all. The two worlds now is getting wider, and in many ways it is more painful for those in the light. The sadness of watching many fall away, even in the so-called awake movement. That trend will continue. You will see more and more fall by the wayside. Relationships, groups, authorities, establishments are and will continue to crumble as the old order and their army of minions, both clowns and people, will continue to spiral into the dark. Stand tall, be proud, observe, not immerse. Don't be tempted by their evil and devious ways of manipulation. Be grateful you are not one of them. Recognize you waded through their dark black goo, cleansed yourself off, and came out shining. They don't matter anymore. They can't be helped, and they can't and won't be saved. They are lost or empty vessels being cast back into the stormy ocean as we claim back the erosion the dark created. Recognize your own achievements of overcoming that hurdle. Despite everything thrown at you at this time, you still came through. Keep shining. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.